Let's go. 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 Whatever it is, let's go.
Are back. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome to Building Stuff with Nova on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I am super happy to be with you. Why? Because I wasn't with you yesterday and I wasn't with you on Monday. I've missed you. So shout out to everybody that's returning here to Building Stuff with Nova. In fact, if this is your first time, I just want you to know that I am Dr. Nee. That's what we call me around here. Dr. Nehemiah Mabry. I'm your host, and this is the place you already know that we refer to as your virtual makerspace, your ideation laboratory, your mastermind. This is the place where you and I and you, however you want to say it, we together, we build together. And so I'm super happy to have you all with you. I'm here just really filled with joy because I'm back with the building committee. And today, we're not just with our building committee on Twitch. We have a special shout out to go to our audience over on the Nova YouTube channel. So I need to know who's with us today. I've seen some people already excited, dropping things in the chat. Go ahead and give me just a hey, give me a peace sign, drop an emote. If you're on YouTube, drop an emoji. I want to see who's with us. In fact, I see a familiar face already in the chat on Twitch. Shout out to A Clockwork. We see you. Shout out to A Clockwork. Hi, what's up, Lunar? Shout out to Lunar over herself 01. Future Doctors is in the building. Man, we got everybody here. Notes by Neva. Neva, I see you. Shout out to Neva. We got a lot of friends and family happy to be here. I love the emotes. Zoares. Hey, I need to know how y'all been doing. Just let me know how you've been doing. If you've been doing good, you've been doing so-so, how have things been? I can let you know how I've been. I was able to, as you probably, if you follow the channel, you probably saw that on Friday, we did a stream where I had the personal opportunity to tour a lab at MIT. That's right. I had an opportunity to go in the Plasma Science Infusion Center there on the campus of MIT. That was a great experience. That was last week. Obviously, we haven't been streaming for the last few days. Took a little break, much needed break, but I'm back and I'm ready to go with you. How have you all been? Zoaris is dropping the fists, the hugs. Hi, Phil. We see you, Phil. Shout out to you. Nova in real life. All right. Shout out to Lunar. My name is Nova in real life. I love it. PSFC nailed it. A Clockwork says, yes, I agree. I want to give a special thank you on camera to our wonderful hosts, Will and Audrey, who are hanging out with yours truly last week as we went through the lab and saw some pretty dope stuff. If y'all thought it was great, let me know, just like A Clockwork just did over on Twitch. Let me know how you enjoyed that. In case you didn't see it, you are more than welcome to go back and watch the VOD on demand on Twitch, or you can look at the live videos on the Nova YouTube channel to check that out. But it was great. So I'm ready to bring more great content your way. Let's see. We got Matt Hemmings in the building. Shout out to Matt Hemmings with a comment. Let's see. Fellow makers. Oh, yeah. Perfect segue, Matt. In fact, today, let me bring up the agenda for today. We have a brand new group. Like I'm talking about some people that I have been able to be made familiar, acquainted, knowledgeable of, that I have come to just love the work of. And I just want to tell you that in a little bit, we're going to be bringing to the screen two phenomenal makers by the name of Mel and Kayte. So we're going to introduce them in just a little bit. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the work they did. So shout out to all the makers, all the creators, people who like to build things. As we do here on Building Stuff, we're going to get to talk to them here in just a little bit. But let me go ahead and jump ahead to what's to come really quick before I introduce them. We do have 2 more days of streaming. And tomorrow we're going to have a guest. And then on Friday, we are in fact going to have another gameplay day. So make sure you stay tuned because we're going to talk about a little bit what's to come. But let's go ahead and get into today. I'm going to pull up on the screen here an incredible, nice intro slide of our guests for today. Our guests today are known collectively as MKUltra. They go individually by Kayte and Mel. Kayte is a model maker, fabricator, and painter. Mel is a robotics engineer, prop maker, and designer. As I said, together they're known as MKUltra Industries, where they make whimsical and weird animatronics for live performances, film, and entertainment. They're also featured creators on Adam Savage's Tested YouTube channel. I don't know if anybody knows these great folks, but if you do, feel free to give them a shout out, some love in the chat. And what I want to do right now is go ahead and introduce them by playing this clip right here.
My name is Mel Ho. I'm a robotics engineer, prop maker, and also a designer.
My name is Kayte Sabaker. I am a model maker, fabricator, and paintress.
MKUltra was commissioned by an independent film company to design and build a Tacobot for a short film in the deserts of New Mexico. The robot's name is Vowels, and it's just this cute little bot boy that serves tacos, but also has existential dread.
It was pretty easy to divide the work up. Mel had already been designing the concept for it, and they were designing and engineering any of the 3D printed parts and how this robot was going to properly function. And anything that needed to actually be fabricated or painted and finished and assembled, that was where I came in.
I really liked working with Kayte. She's so confident in what she knows, and she also is very experienced in a lot of ways with the process of making.
Working with Mel is just the perfect way of getting all of our creative energy out together and creating something both of us are both into, but also blown away by.
We have a good time and it doesn't feel like work.
That's right. That's right. Here in just a little bit, we're going to bring them on. And so I want to say right now to my friends and family, my families and friends, building committee members far and near, whether it be YouTube or Twitch, let's drop some love in the chat and give a nice warm welcome as I present to some and introduce to others, none other than our good friends, the makers themselves, Mel and Kayte. Let's give it up. Mel and Kayte, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm giving you the claps. I see Lunar dropping a lot of love over on YouTube. People on Twitch saying they love you all. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today?
Hey there.
Hey, we're doing great, I think. Yes. Lovely.
Yes, yes, yes. We just had a little clip, of course, that shared a little bit about one particular project, but also I think was a great introduction to who you all are. But there's always more. There's always more that we can share in, a few seconds. So go ahead and take a moment if you don't mind. Maybe we can start with you, Mel. Give us a little introduction to who you are as beyond just the title of robotics engineer and maker.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So my name is Mel. I guess besides being a roboticist, I like just making art, and I like making art with friends.
Yeah.
And so for me, I like to just be creative and build things and figure out the tools to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Besides that, I like cats. I like painting. I like making. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And we love that. Shout out to people who already, Clockwork said, love seeing the partnering and the merging between engineering and creative projects. That is fantastic. Kayte, what do you have to say a little bit about that? And give us a little bit about your background as well.
Hey, so I got my start doing visual effects miniatures for movies and TV. And I, kind of started to branch out when I started working with Adam Savage and Tested.com. I got to meet Mel, and we just discovered that we had so much in common. So yeah. It's another way of us getting out our creative ideas and just having fun spitballing with each other, because that's the kind of thing that I love. Because even, I could be making something all day for work. Yeah. And I get home and I'm like, I just need to keep making. So I got to find something else to keep doing, that's not something I'm getting paid for, but maybe I just keeping my hands busy.
I love it. I love it. That's what you call passion. How long has that been though? I guess separately, how long have you all been builders / makers, would you say, if you had to put a number on your careers? And then how long have you all done it as a team?
How old am I?
I mean, since the dawn of consciousness, I don't know, for a long time. I would say at least crafting and doing things with my hands was just like a very common thing. So it's like a way for me to just like stem things out or just sketch all the time. In terms of like fabrication and building, that came probably closer to when I could actually get a Dremel on hand, which was probably closer to like 14 or 15. And then I would just like to mod everything I owned. So like I had like this boombox backpack that I made with a friend in high school because we wanted to just like blast all our cool tunes. And this was before like Bluetooth was commonplace and you could have portable speakers. So we got this like cassette converter and everything and like hooked that up to our like iPods and things like that. And we just be like, yeah, party out in the park or whatever. Wow. But I think like, yeah, in terms of professionally, like closer to maybe like 19 to 20 was when I started to like work in maker spaces and things like that. And then that was like when like the tools became from like hand tools to like big like milling machines and things like that, like more toys, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, do you remember your first project? Because I always think about like my early days of tinkering too, kind of what Mel just shared, like, you know, pulling random things together. Do you remember like your first project when it sort of like began for you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, definitely, I have strong memories of being in school and we had to do a book report. And so I insisted on making a shoebox diorama when the teacher was like, no, you don't really have to do that. And I'm like, no, I do. And then shortly after that, I convinced my dad to help me. I don't know where I got the idea, but I had this highlighter. It was like a fat, flat highlighter. And I was like, no, but it needs to be like a spy thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the inside and I'm going to have it be a flashlight. And so he helped me engineer away, cutting a hole, getting a battery in there. And that just, I think I haven't stopped since then. And I was in maybe the 3rd or 4th grade.
Man, that I feel like we would have been great friends. Like we didn't know each other back then, but if we knew each other in 3rd or 4th grade, we would have hung out for sure, Mel. Like I would have been jamming to the tunes. We would have been spies together, Kate, and we probably would have been like making several movies by now. We would have had our names, Mel, Kate, like at the top.
I love this.
Yes.
Yes, the ambition is there.
Yes, indeed. Hey, everybody, just want to give another pause and a shout out to the chat. Shout out to our building committee. They are showing love on YouTube. Hello, fellow creators. Daybrick says, hello, Matt. Everyone is showing some love. Again, our building committee over on Twitch. We really appreciate you all hanging out with us. You will be able to ask questions. We will pause periodically through our interview, through our hangout, really, our virtual hangout with Mel and Kate, where we'll be able to get questions. In fact, we'll start with this one. What's the smallest thing you've made? Can you think of something very small that you've made?
Yeah. So miniatures are my thing. And I've worked on a lot of films doing miniatures. A lot of times they tend to be bigatures, so they don't get that tiny. But on one of the Star Wars TV shows, and of course we don't always get told exactly what we're working on, so I can't even tell you which one. I think it might have been for Obi-Wan or the Book of Boba Fett. There's a scene where there's a field full of like robot droids that are coming to like attack somebody, and in real life those robots are about that big. They're like these teeny tiny 3D prints of the droids because it needed to be such an expansive field showing them all. And so those got 3D printed, but then they all had to be cleaned up, and then I had to like paint and dip them all in this metallic powder. And those were definitely some of the tiniest things I've ever worked on. They were like the size of a thumbnail.
That's crazy. Mel, you have something else in mind?
Yeah, it's not as tiny as Kate, but like there was a prompt that we had for like a hackathon where we had to make like a mice catcher, like an autonomous like robotic mice catcher. And my team decided, because it'd be funny and more fun, that we'd create like kind of an absurd Rube Goldberg machine to try to catch the mouse.
Yeah.
So we had like this little trigger and it would just trigger all of these little tiny effects. And then a little tiny cage would come on top. And then like, you know, like there would be like lights that go off and be like, congratulations, you won, you know? And in terms of implementation, like it worked out kind of. Like some of it worked, some of it kind of fell through. But it was really fun to design because it was just like tiny thing for a mouse to step on, tiny stuff to move around, you know? Yeah, it was quite silly.
I guess the mouse would have to like watch the whole thing and like stay in place.
Yeah.
Until But you know what? That game, Mousetrap, Mel, when you bring that up, that really is the thing that got me into this whole world. Anyway, like I remember playing the board game and doing it, setting it all up, and like even seeing things on like Tom and Jerry with like all of the cartoons and stuff. Like those Rube Goldberg Mousetraps are really what I owe a lot of my curiosity to this whole world too. So that's dope.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So rad.
Hey, I see some people in the chat also dropping. Future Doctor said I made a clay model of a mathematician for a math project. Definitely made in school herself. You know, I thinking about you all talking about the small things you made. We on this channel started our first build because we're doing a lot of builds with this super miniature Golden Gate Bridge. And when I tell you that my hands did not possess the control to do that. So when I hear about those little miniature robots, Kayte, I am super impressed, I must say. Shout out to the building committee that knows that. Hey, let me ask this to chat really quick, and I got another question for y'all, but chat, drop in the chat, whether you're on YouTube. We see you all active over on YouTube, also on Twitch. What is something that you've made? Put in the chat something you made. We've always had Matt already share with us early in the stream over on YouTube, but put something you've made that you're proud of, that you created. We would love to see that and learn more about that here at Nova Building Stuff. But Mel and Kayte, here's the question though. A lot of people have done this for fun, right? Like even for me, like I knew that it was fun. I knew I could spend a lot of time in my own makerspace, but like, how did you even get to the point where it became a career? Like you all are doing this for the entertainment industry. You've had experience doing this for like video game companies, Bethesda. Like how did you get into this? How do you make this into a career? How did you make it into a career? That's what I want to know.
Oh, you want to go start or you want me to go?
Sure, I can go. Yeah, I started doing it for fun, just in life. And then I went to a specialty fine arts junior high and high school. And then I like went to film school. And while I was in film school, I was like, I don't know. I like helping make the movies, but it also feels a little too hands off. So I had a professor in production design who said, I think you need to be a model maker. You need to be the one making this stuff that we're putting in here. So she got me an internship at a visual effects studio called New Deal Studios. And I basically, while I was still in school, just jumped right in, started making things, and they hired me right away. So it was pretty good. It was like I went to film school, which I don't necessarily need a degree to do what I do.
Yeah.
But it really is true about like it's the people you know, and it's about like making those connections. And so that's how I got in there.
Dope. What about you, Mel?
Yeah, so I would agree with Kayte that it's like definitely like community. Like a very good factor is like meeting people and just like putting yourself out there. So for me, I had a very unconventional, I guess, like academic track with getting my degree. I basically went from high school straight to like work. And I found a makerspace in San Francisco that was hiring. And it was kind of rough. It was like pay cut was not great. But like I just remember they were like, we will teach you every tool in this shop. And so I like dead ass just messaged them on Craigslist being like, yo, like, I don't know, whatever, dude, like, please.
Wow.
And they hired me on, and I basically worked pretty crazy shifts for a while.
Yeah.
And I met a bunch of cool makers from that, and I like picked up a ton of skills. And I just kind of stumbled upon like a group of like, I met a guy during that time who was sort of well-known, Mark DeBow. He was like in sort of the local movie prop scene here. And he just would ask me for like a random help with things. He's like, you got a laser cutter and we want to make these like bootleg guns from Blade Runner. Can you just like laser cut this thing real quick? And I was like, for sure, dude. And so I would just continue to do these like favors here and there. And I guess like I became known as like the like makerspace fab guy.
Yeah.
So like Adam had like a laser cutter that he was just like, I don't know what to do with this. Like it's broken. And I like went in and he like recommended me, Mark DeBow recommended me to repair his laser. So like my first interaction with Adam was like this like cold email being like, it's Adam.
Right.
And he's like, I got a laser. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I'll fix that laser. Thought it was going to be like a one-time gig. And then it became more of like, he just liked my work ethic and he liked that I liked making things. And so he was just like, why don't you do this like part-time while you're in school? And I was like, yeah, cool. Sure thing. No problem.
Why not?
Yeah. And then from there, it was just like meeting a bunch of cool folks through Tested. And then just like honestly interacting with like the local scene and SF, because like there's a lot of makers here that like do things for Burning Man and do things in like the art exhibits, and it's just like you got to talk to people and you got to like also be like, this is my stuff, I made thingies too, you know?
Yeah. My thumbprints are on that, my fingerprints are on that. I love it. Your story too, Mel. I would say, like, I'm hearing you tell it, I love it, because it's like it could have went, you know, you responded to these random job postings, I'm like, man, this could have went any direction, but this definitely turned out for the better. And I'm super happy that you were here with us today. And you mentioned Adam, and we're going to talk about the work that you all have done with him in just a little bit. But I want to give an acknowledgement again. Clockwork said, proud of a 3D printer kit assembled as a hobby project. Shout out to that. Shout out to people who are also on YouTube saying, shout out Scott Crabb, my local makerspace, builds an epic wheelchair costume each year as part of the Magic Wheelchair organization. Awesome. That's really cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everybody that is hanging out with us. We see you, that Opal guy. Welcome back to Building Stuff with Nova. You all, Mel and Kayte, work with somebody who is really considered probably one of the most famous creators and makers out there, particularly in your line of work, Adam Savage. We know him from the show Mythbusters. Obviously, he has a channel called Test It that you've already alluded to. Talk a little bit about how you all, or just maybe just really quickly a little bit about that particular work before we get into seeing some other recent projects of you all.
Oh man.
How was it working with Adam? Is it pretty dope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, every person I talk to, they'll come up to me and they're like, so what's Adam like? And I'm like, he is exactly what you think he is. Like, working with him, he has the same energy and excitement that he does, like when the camera's rolling. As soon as the camera stops, he's the same person.
Wow.
Like, he is so good to go. He gets excited by everything. You can come in and be like, hey, look at this little thing I made, and he'll be like, oh, that is so cool, you know. And then he'll be like, let me show you what I just did, and he runs everywhere, and all he wants to do is make stuff and help support people who make stuff. And he'll like, I'll come in after not being there for a little while, and he's like, it's been so empty in the shop. I just need people in here with me. I want to be making with other people all the time.
Right.
You know, it's great.
I love it. And I got to say this about you all too. For those who don't know, you just joined us on Building Stuff with Nova. I'm here with Mel and Kayte, incredible makers, creators. They've been able to do work with Adam Savage on the Test It channel. They also have their own collective group called MKUltra Industries. And we're going to talk about a little bit your recent projects here in a second. But I want to let people know, if they're just joining us on Twitch, now is a great time to hit the follow button and go ahead and say something in the chat so we can know who you are, where you're coming from. Same thing on YouTube. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Mel and Kayte, well, Kayte specifically, I'm looking at your background right now, and I see some very vibrant colors. And I don't know if you should go to if you should go to a full screen or screen share here in a second. But what are these cool props behind you? I see. Is that a mask? Is that what that is?
Oh yeah. So one of the things that Mel and I did for, I think, leading up to Maker Faire this last year, was we created some masks. So here, let me grab this one and bring it into frame a little bit better.
Okay.
So this is Mel's mask. And the way that we went into this is we decided we wanted to make some really cool folk-based masks. So we wanted them to be really simple materials. I actually really wanted to challenge myself and see if we could go more like paper mache and eco-friendly recyclable materials. So we made the forms, and Mel really nailed it with the hi-fi lo-fi thing we were going for. So even though this is like basically made of cardboard boxes and paper mache, then we've got things like these eyes here are actually screens, and they are connected to a microphone inside the mask. And when Mel would talk, the screens would animate based on their the sound that it got picked up.
Wow.
And then up in here, actually underneath all of these little glass beads are some lights that activate as well. So we have a little bit of that, and then I have my mask as well. Let me grab it.
And I have the sketches on the screen as you're grabbing it too. I don't know if these were like early sketches, Mel? These were like the earliest ideation sketches? Or?
Yeah, we like to spitball quite a bit. Like part of the joy of hanging out with Kayte is us putting on a movie and then scheming the whole time of different project ideas.
Yeah.
And I think for this particular one, I was like on my like Cintiq over here, just like sketching,
Yeah.
and came up with like the core elements of like what the animal masks would look like. And then we just played with the colors. And we're like, oh, we could add these, and like maybe this will spin around and this will turn on with lights and things. So yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant.
fun to concept out as well.
One of the things I was most excited about is I was like, I'm not quite sure what I need it to be, but I know that I want to have weird pointy eyes on mine. And so Mel was able to come up with a concept where these eyes are attached to like a motion sensor. So if I move my head enough, these eyes rotate, like they start spinning. And then I also have a microphone in my mask, and that's connected to whenever I talk, these here light up in different patterns as I talk. So I have lights going down the front of mine as well. I absolutely adore the design concepts that Mel came up with and the way they were able to implement what to me is insanely complicated, cool tech in seemingly a really like fun, accessible way.
Crazy cool tech.
Yeah. The motion shake thing was actually a tip that one of my friends, Sai, this is like the beauty of like when you have maker friends and you just talk with each other, you get like these little things. Like Sai was talking about basically she works at Pixar. She was talking about how like animatronics now, like or like even just puppetry, like if we're having puppet masks to kind of mimic realism, they have little things that they do, right? Like if you turn your head, like the eyes may blink, or add these like little extra textures to add lifelikeliness. And I was just like, oh, that sounds sick. Okay, like why don't we just throw like you know like a sensor in there and just like see if we could do something similar. And I think that like it made the mask very interactive. I think like, yeah, that's a good portion of like why we want to do this sort of combination of like electronics with like art, is just like, can we make pieces that are a little bit more, I guess, like fantastical than like say something that is entirely static.
Right. Those details really make a difference. And I love how like a second ago, Kayte said that hi-fi and lo-fi, because I see that in the mask. Like it's like advanced, but then it also has sort of this, man, this is so artistic in addition to sort of the whole technical ingenuity that's in part of it. And let me ask you this, by the way, and you all please drop your chat, drop some love, give them some compliments. I already see some. Kajal said that's sick. I 100% agree with you, Kajal. Herself says, whoa, it just keeps getting cooler and cooler and cooler. And I don't know if you, I'm gonna come back here to our talking head layout really quick, because I just want to make this point. Here on Building Stuff with Nova, right, we're doing engineering, right? And this whole process of like engaging the engineering design process, where you're asking questions and you're trying to brainstorming, and then you're creating, and then you're sort of iterating before you launch. Can you describe sort of the design process, at least mentally, or like what you do first, right? You sketch things out, you got creative, you watch movies, but like, what do you do first? Like, what is those next couple of steps when it comes to moving from the idea to realization?
All right, let's see. I guess it depends, like varies per project, but I would say like after we're like, okay, we have a sketch, what do we do next? Then we sort of split our tasks apart, right? So like Kayte is really good at like looking at something visually and just deconstructing like how she can make that. And like she'll go into detail about that. For me, it's like I'll focus a lot on like, okay, like I just ambitiously decided we want this to be like interactive somehow. And I'm like, oh shoot, I now need to figure out the electronics for that and like maybe the mechanical solution. And so that might look like something like, for example, like we did a robot for the desert, and that like I basically spent a lot of my time in CAM and just like sourcing motors and being like, okay, I know that this needs to just turn on. Like I know it needs to rotate and do these things.
Do you have
so there's a lot of like,
sorry to cut you off. Do you have pictures of that? Like I know we just showed the picture of the thing, but the robot you're talking about, because this has something to do with, okay, cool. So Kayte has it. Kayte, let me see if I can. Okay, that's the robot you were talking about right there, Mel. That's the.
Yes. So for that particular client work, we basically spent the first week just doing concept art. So I gave them like 5 or 6 different concepts until they visually got something that they liked, like ballpark wise. And then Kayte and I went to Urban Ore
to just start to source out, like, because the budget was fairly tight. So we had to like sort of be like, how can we like get a good portion of the forms sort of created already?
Right.
And we found like a really cool like bread maker shape that like kind of matched some of the concept that I had already done. So I then took that, modified it, and updated our like concept sketch to be something closer to some of the components we already sourced out.
Right.
They were like, heck yeah, this is giving us like what we're looking for, which is like this Johnny Five like Wall-E sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then from there, like Kate and I just basically divvied up the tasks. Like she focused a lot on like structure and frames and like the paint and like what would take. And then I focused a lot on like just getting the robot. They wanted so many features with the robot head that I just was like, okay, we need to like have this move around. It has to have multiple degrees of freedom. It needs to have a telescopic lens. I just started to look and kind of design the mechanical aspects, and then just sort of hope that we can form it to be something aesthetically pleasing. And it worked out in the end, which is great. But like there is a level of like you chaotically try and then you adapt based off of that chaos,
As
right?
you go, yeah.
Well, and on a movie project, you do what's called a script breakdown. So basically, they sent us the script, and they let us know loosely like what they wanted the design to be like and such. But what we had to do was go through the script and go, okay, and here it calls out that the robot reaches out and does this. And so we had to make a note, okay, the robot needs to be able to reach this way. And then later in the script it says, and the robot opens its chest and gets the food out. And it's like, okay, so there needs to be a door that opens, there needs to be a cavity inside. The arm needs to have enough, range of motion that it can reach and do this. Later it says the robot raises and lowers. You're like, okay, well, we have to have a telescoping base.
Right.
So you go through and you do your full breakdown, and you essentially end up with a laundry list of requirements of what the robot needs. Then you reverse engineer and go, how do we make it do that?
Right. And is that like primarily your job? Meaning like you all are building this thing, and then when you get to there shooting everything, are there times when like the director would say, all right, now make it do the other thing? And you're like, oh, you mean wait, we didn't, like, are there times when like,
yes,
either you didn't notice something or it's like a brand new addition to the script? How does that go?
No, the director's always going to ask for something that they did not let you know ahead of time they needed. And so half of you wants to be like, oh, we can make this work. Okay, let's figure it out. And the other half is like, sorry.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Feature creep is so commonplace in everything. And like directors, especially when they get excited, especially when you start to deliver things, like we sent them like work in progress of like the mechanisms and like also the finish, and they're like, oh, but what if we could do this and that?
Man.
And it's like very exciting, but it's also incredibly stressful when you have like say a month to make this and you have to transport it and all of the logistics behind it.
Right.
And so there is like a little bit of like this like almost like dance that you have to do with like the client, where you're sort of like, look, we got you these requirements, this is great, anything above that is like drizzle that maybe we can attempt, but like kind of set the expectations, and generally it works out fairly well. I like to think of it as like you don't under deliver, or you present to them something pragmatic and then you over deliver by just the nature of like what you make, right? So it works out fairly well for that.
And then there are things like in this particular instance, the robot has an eye mechanism that goes in and out, and in the story there's like a stone that gets stuck in the eye mechanism. And so the robot is meant to move its arm, pick up a stick, move it to its eye, and pop out the pebble so that the eye can work again. Right. And we're like, that's just not going to work on so many levels.
Right. Yeah.
So literally, we just cheated it. They do a close-up of the eye with the pebble. I hold the stick off camera, and so all you see is the stick come into frame and push it off, and we're done. That's it. That's all we had to do. I puppeted a stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, y'all, this is Mel and Kate. Creators, makers extraordinaire. Y'all be sure to drop your chat. We're more than happy to ask these questions. Before moving on, I'm just curious, Mel, do you happen to have any other picture of that? 'Cause that picture was cool. If the sketch is the only thing you had, that's cool too. But I'm trying to envision this. I'm trying to envision
the robot. The robot.
Oh, the robot. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
The robot.
So people can know what we're talking about with the robot. There we go.
So yeah, we have this photo here, which is basically it on set. at New Mexico. So this is supposed to be like the kiosk. It's like a taco robot that experiences existential dread in the middle of New Mexico in a drive-through. So this whole like basically even the pedestal that it's on and everything, that is all just like sets that were set into this like place, like the side of a freeway in New Mexico. We have some like little glamour shots of like Kayte.
Hey,
like,
there we go.
The robot,
BTS.
This was like in New York when we were doing pickups.
There you go.
So there were like certain robot scenes that like with the what is the word? The scientists that built the robots. There's like scenes with that. And so we ended up going and doing like pickup shoots in New York later after the shot.
The lighting in that shot was pretty dope, Mel. I gotta admit, like that's just a side.
Shout out to Tessa Burry for that. Tessa made us look good.
I know.
Yeah, it was a very fun, I think, project for both of us. It was quite chaotic and wild.
Is that the sketch again there too? The other one, that's another sketch of it.
I'll also pull this up as well. So this was the final concept sketch, and we had like just zooming in too close. Yeah, we had various ideas. Yeah. As you can see, like we had like potentially like, maybe we could add like these alternate plates to give it more motion. But yeah, this was sort of the general concept. They wanted it to kind of look a little bit run down because it's sort of a robot that it's at its tail lifespan. And so there's like we've added some like dust and some sort of decay, but not too much where it looked like really decrepit. Yeah.
The weathering on that job was a lot of fun.
What was it like though? Let me ask you this. What was it like to see it come to life though? Because like you have the sketch here everybody sees, and then you had the other picture where it's like real life and you had to kind of do some things for the shot, but to see the movie, to see it come to life and be like, man, we made this. This started out as a sketch, an idea in our head. Like, what was that like? What was that feeling like?
Okay, well, it was like so I've worked a lot in entertainment in the sense of like reality TV and like working with Adam. And I feel like this was my first time actually being on a proper movie set with like also puppeting the robot as acting. And like, I think I just had like a seeing the Jesus moment. I was just like, this is dope. This is awesome. Here we are, like
realization. Like, wait a minute, am I dreaming?
Really hit. And I think because we were definitely building this to the wire. It was like having to come up with the concept, make this, and then like test it and get like the mechanics working for like within a month was like, it was so intense for me and Kayte, And so like there was like a moment where we're just like, okay, like, like the day before the shoot, there's like little mini emergencies that are happening that are just like, oh my gosh, like the robot arm decides to break randomly. Great, that's no problem. We're gonna have to like fashion a solution and fix that, right? Little things like that just kind of like added extra drama for like the cacophony, which is just like a movie production with a very short timeline.
Right. And
then when it just started to work and things became somewhat seamless and we could repair things very quickly, I just like think I felt like a moment of just like looking at Kayte and like, that's our child. We did it. Like this is their first like proper like baby, and it was lovely.
Congratulations, man! I can only imagine. And everybody's again really engaged across YouTube. Shout out to YouTube and Twitch. Kayte, I know that in the same way that you and Mel, sort of work together, when it comes to the entertainment industry as a whole, like it takes a lot of people. It takes a village. You know what I mean? To really pull these things off, bring movie content to our screens. I mean, you all are both a part of a sort of a maker community. I know we talked about early on when we first met. And this large maker conference, what is it called again? You all went to this large maker conference earlier this year?
Open Sauce.
Open Sauce.
It's definitely like a YouTube content creator with a focus on like making things, which was just incredible. Our friend Jen Schachter was the art director for it, and we had been last year, and we thought this was super cool, and we wanted to be more involved. Yeah. So this year, when they started planning it, she was like, "Hey, we need some art installations for this. Like, are you interested at all in helping out with that?" And we're like, "Yeah, we would," because a lot of our friends, we have a big maker community that we're part of. And a lot of our friends that are in it, they don't live locally. So the
Yes.
fact that this was coming to San Francisco and all the people we know and love were
Yes.
going to be coming there was like, okay, we get to make cool stuff and see our friends. Like, heck yeah.
I think that's dope, and I want to see what you all built in just a little bit. But I gotta give a special shout out again to the makers in the audience, especially over on Twitch. Is Stephanie? If this is the Stephanie, I believe this is also another great maker represented. Shout out to you, Stephanie. I love Kayte and Mel. This is so good. Exclamation point is the comment there on Twitch. And if you're on YouTube, by the way, we love that you're here on YouTube, but come on over to Twitch, sign up, follow us on Twitch as well, as we continue to do this every single day at 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch on Nova Building Stuff. But yeah, what did you all make this year? Let's talk about that.
Oh, okay, let's talk about the horse.
the horse.
My screen. Oh, go for it, Kayte.
I was gonna say the way that we got on this was our friend Jen, like I said, was art directing, and it was at a place called the Cow Palace, and they had this rodeo bar that they needed to convert into a special VIP area, and she was like, "Man, I really wish we could have a mechanical bull. Like that would be a fun set piece to have in there, but I can't find one. I can't rent one. What are we gonna do?" And there was like just this random moment where like Mel and I were like, wouldn't it be hilarious if instead of a mechanical bull, it was like a coin-operated horsey ride?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Let's see. We gotta see.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up.
Okay, so we could show wherever you want to start.
Yeah, hey, let's start. Hey, I'm gonna throw it to you all. Give us a process. Walk us through that experience. We see all of your pictures right now on Google, but walk us through.
All right. Yeah. So let's start out with just, I guess, like the horse itself that we found in Hayward. Yes.
Yeah. On Craigslist.
Craigslist again.
Craigslist
there we
is
go.
A great place for random stuff that you can find for cool art. You gotta say.
Right.
And so Kayte found these sweet horses that were for sale on Craigslist, and we're like, oh, okay, so this is actually feasible. Like we could make this happen. And so like after that, I basically like went into a mad dash and just started concepting ideas of what the horse could do. And so the first one was Cosmic Cowgirl, which was like gonna be this highlighter pink nonsense. We were gonna put fluff in everything, rhinestones, just like bling it out. The client got back and they were like, not what we're entirely looking for. So then it was just like, okay, what about disco buff?
Let's
have like a buffalo that has like weird yellow wire paint and disco tile. Like I was just like so invested in this disco tile. I was just like, we gotta make it disco. And they were like, it's like cool and concept. And then we're like, okay, shoot, they want something, we just don't know what yet. And so
then we tried the black velvet concept.
Is the black velvet in here?
These names are incredible. Let me just say that. Black velvet disco.
So we then did like a disco black velvet. And we were like, okay, let's make it like this is a little bit chiller.
The
you know,
unicorn.
if you gotta want to do this mood dive bar. Let's make it a little bit more like casual, like, you know, just like classic. And they were like, oh, we like this like the most. And so like we're like, okay, let's start out with this idea and like just prep the horse for paint. And so something magical happens though when you do things like builds and like start a build, right? And so I'm gonna see if I can show you.
I think if you go up.
Is it?
I saw some sanding. Yeah, here's some sanding.
So we started sanding.
Sanding the
horse.
Oh boy,
did we sand. We sanded and sanded.
I don't know if you could see. Yeah,
you got some help. Y'all have some other hands with you.
Oh, heck yeah.
We did.
Yeah, we were like, all hands were like, hey, y'all, it's crazy. You want pizza? You want to hang? Let's make the sanding party happen.
Right.
And so this was at Jen's place. Outside of her apartment in like the courtyard, we were sanding this horse. And what was kind of crazy was as we were sanding the horse, we found this amazing like geode pattern that occurred simply because the horse had been painted so many times in its lifespan. There were all of these layers of paints of its previous like color.
Wow.
And it just like created this like really cool geode. And like Kayte and I were just like, oh, we can't like paint on top of that.
Yeah. No, we first saw it and we're like, well, this is really cool. It's a shame it can't cover the whole thing. I'm sure it won't look like that everywhere on the horse. but we just kept sanding, and like it just kept coming out more and more and more, and we soon realized it did cover the whole horse, and
That's
we're like,
awesome.
yeah, it would be an abomination to cover this insane pattern
It's
up.
too
Like,
dope.
we
Yeah.
have to use this.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm going to see if the concept, yes.
There you
It's
go.
so then Gold Rush became the final concept. Gold Rush was just like, well, it's kind of golden. We might as well make everything gold. Oh, look, it conveniently also is red. And so a couple of my friends were like, it's like San Francisco. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. It's why not? Sure, let's
And
let's
if it's with the Old West theme in the rodeo bar.
Yep,
It
yeah,
works
for
out.
sure.
Yeah. And so that is what the final piece ended up looking like, which is this guy.
Is this
Gold Rush.
at the conference?
So
Right
this
here?
is at the, this is in place with the wall of TVs behind it. What we ended up doing is, obviously, we painted the saddle crazy. We added disco tiles to the base bill, because that was a concept that like we would not let go of. No matter which iteration, it was going to have disco tiles.
For sure. We got to keep the
And
disco.
then, yeah, we did red gold leaf foil on the main, just as highlights. I didn't want to cover up all of the red paint that was on the main already, but I just wanted to like highlight that with more like shimmer and shine. Mel sourced this incredible chain for the reins,
Right.
and then designed a really cool look for the base in the coin box, so that it looks basically like a gold bar.
Yep, I see it.
And then I was able to Cricut cut some vinyl letters for the base that say Gold Rush. And you can't see it here, but that vinyl is also holographic. So as you move like side to side, you can see the crazy shimmer in it.
I love it. I love it. Future Doctors, that's the question I was about to ask. Like, can I ride that? Like, if I pulled up on it, does it still work?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
It
really? So I can
totally
put a
works.
coin and that thing still
Yes.
like, oh, wow.
It makes music too. It has music in the back. This is the like, as the previous owner had said, this is the pleasure. This is like the cruise premium line of like Safeway, like
yeah.
like,
Actually, Mel, there's a footage of me riding it on here. I think if you go lower.
yeah, it's right here.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, you're riding it? There you go.
This is
Play that.
me
They're testing it and
when
being like,
when I went to
yep.
buy it, they were like, you should test it out and see. And
It
I was
works.
like, okay, it can support my body weight.
Yeah. I remember those. It's so nostalgic seeing this too. Seeing you have a great ride there. Cause like I remember coming out of stores and like begging my mom for a coin. Can I get a quarter? Can I get on the back of that?
Exactly.
You all like flipped it and it's gold and then you put your logo there on the box there too. I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was all like 3D printed. So there was a lot of like 3D printed components as well as just like paint finishes and things.
Okay.
I do want to point out something, which is just that so with this project, there was like two makers that like helped us out for fun and also for some experience getting more like involved in like these like sort of more professional type of product like client work. And so one of them, Stevie, like they really wanted to, I wanted to like, I guess like also have them incorporate some of their own like creative interest, because like, you know, I, as a person who's also done like a lot of like helping out bigger projects that maybe my name isn't on or things like that, it's like it's sometimes nice to like have a little bit of creative freedom to do my own thing. And so I gave them a little exercise where if you see on the base there are these like little 3D mountains.
I see.
Like they wanted to, like I was like, you know, there's an open space here, fill it with whatever you wanted. And they wanted to
cover a plate that was there.
Okay.
Exactly. And so they 3D modeled, I think through Rhino, like these mountain ranges. And then basically I printed them out and like we kind of like Kate gave them some sweet tips on how to do like the finishing and like painting. And so there's a little tiny piece of Stevie there, which I just like want to point out because like the cute little finishes.
Shout out to them. We gotta give shout out to them. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that was something that was really cool about this job is like we've talked about the community of makers, and this was our first time. As Mel has mentioned, as I mentioned, like we both got mentored when we were starting out in the business, and that is the like single-handedly the best bit of career path that you can get is having someone show you how to do it and get you connected in there and encouraging you to do that. So on this job, it was our first time as like MKUltra and our own entity being like, okay, we're ready to now turn that around and help out the next generation of people that are trying to come up. And so we got to have people come and help. And it was it was a learning experience for everybody, because also it was my first time then having to turn and say like, okay, here's what you need to do, as opposed to being all hectic and like, I got to get this done, so I don't have time to stop and tell you what to do. So it forces you to stop and go, okay, what needs to be done? How do we assign tasks? Like how do we make sure that we're staying on track while still like nurturing and bringing other people into it?
Right. And you embraced that. I'm so glad you went there. Both of you all mentioned that, because it's so important that we mentor, that we pass the torch, as was said, like continue to make sure that there's a continuation of talent. Like, it's not all about just gaining all the knowledge we can. Like, we got to also be that mentor.
Go
ahead.
Oh, sorry. They feel so strongly about this. There is no relinquishing of greatness, because you like in some ways it's more exciting, right? To have people involved in a project. Like, I am good at like certain things, like electronics and like maybe this concept stuff, whatever I like to do. But it is like magical when I work with Kayte, because like I get a perspective that I don't necessarily get to do if I just do a project solo. And it's even more exciting when you have like another generation. Like, it's weird to say that because it used to be me, but like now I feel like I'm in this age of like there are younger artists than me that are just don't like, they're starting, and it's like an exciting experience to see like, oh, like sharing of ideas through like the back and forth, and also seeing them grow. Like, I think I've developed sort of a desire, especially within like my community, to see like growth within like the people around me, because I think we'll just all make better art. It's like going to be just more people that way. That's right. It. And so that was like what I really took joy out of with this project, was that like, you know, like I met Stevie at a coffee shop, and like I saw some of their paintings and I was like, this is cool. And I was like, hey, I know you want to get into like more woodworking stuff or just like more hands-on sculpture things. Like, we're working on this project and we could probably use an extra set of hands. And I'm glad that they took it up, and I'm glad that like we got to have this sort of creative exchange, because again, like I think it's like what makes art really fun, like, and it makes it kind of beautiful, you know?
Right.
Well, absolutely. And through meeting Stevie and chatting, I discovered that Stevie and I share like a common passion for traditional folk masks. So then we needed to have some 3D printed frogs decorated for open sauce. And I just sent them home with the frogs and wanted to see what they came up with. And they blew me away with their skill and talent, and like basically did everything I would have dreamed of having done myself. So like giving them that spark and then that freedom to do it themselves, it's just so glorious to see what then is returned with it. So I'm like just so happy with the whole process.
I love it. I like to say there's something inspiring about inspiring, because it's symbiotic for sure. It's like, like when you give, you receive. And I need everybody, Twitch, chat, YouTube, put some fire in the chat. I need to see some fire. If you believe and you dig what they're saying about passing the torch, if you're loving everything that they've had to share with us, I need to see some fire emotes, some fire emojis. Y'all give some love to Mel and Kayte. Really quick, just two more questions. What is like a mundane thing, or I wouldn't even say mundane, but just a common thing that people won't think about that's a part of your careers that may not be the big finished product, but like, hey, every day I have to worry about, I don't know, making sure I clip my nails, or like what's like a mundane thing that you would feel that people don't know is a part of your careers?
I was literally just talking to somebody about this like 2 days ago. One of the biggest things I wish that maybe some ways of teaching math were a little more skewed into practical applications. As somebody who was not great at math and had no interest in it, I do scale conversions almost every single day now. And I've gotten really good at it, and I can do it really quickly most of the time in my head. But that's something that I never imagined would be a part of my life, or would be a lot easier and, you know, more appealing than it ever was for me in school.
I love that. Shout out to Building Stuff with Nova. Everybody's here. This is an engineering channel, so I'm glad you said that, Kayte. By the way, that was perfect correlation. But anyway, Mel, you don't have to be engineering, no pressure, but anything mundane that you would say is a part of the career that people don't always know.
Freaking spreadsheets, man. Like, so many spreadsheets. Like, you get like this excited about the idea, and then it's like the logistics, right? So like for me, it's always just like, you got to have a bomb, even for things like, like we can do this on a cuff. Like, you're like, nope, you put it in the bomb just so you make sure you have everything you need. And it's a lot of just like, especially for like creative projects, there's a lot of just like logistical timing, right? So it's like, oh, if I order these components now, they will arrive here by this particular time.
Right.
And I have this many days to prep some sort of prototyping.
Yeah.
Because like there's a level of like flexibility that you have, but boy George, is it so much nicer when you do like mentally prepare for like things like, okay, like Kayte and I will have a specific day to sort out like how we're going to house things into the electronics.
Right.
And by George, should we do it before things are finished, right? When things are painted or set.
Right.
So there's like things that like, I guess like when I first started out, I was just like, nah, like we could just like gung ho this, like we can just like cavalier this whole thing. No, absolutely. Like spreadsheets were, there are days where you are just staring at spreadsheets and you're looking at like eBay and you're just putting things in lists and they do pay off. Like, you set those calendar like invites and they all pay off in the end, but it feels quite boring at the time because you're just too busy being, I just want to make the thing. Like I don't want to think about
think about all that. Listen, that's a part of it. It sounds like a class I took called engineering management. So no, that's right. You need A before B, and then this takes this amount of time. So how are we going to order this so that we can start that? And then there's the schedule and there's the budget. So I'm so glad. Those are really great things. And hey, chat, I hope you all have enjoyed this. A lot of fire has already flamed up our chat, both on YouTube and on Twitch. But before we let you all go ahead and let us know what advice. I would love for you all to take us home with like some advice, because again, I asked you earlier how you got into this field. I know for a fact that there are people who, again, want to get into it. They may want to get mentors. They, fortunately hopefully they will at some point. But like, any advice for people who are now saying, okay, I like to create, but I also want to make this into a career. What advice would you say for either doing that or just getting a part of the community in general?
I would say definitely everywhere that I've ever lived and worked, there have been amazing maker spaces in those places. No matter how small the town, there's always somewhere where the makers gather. So go there first, meet your people, have access to all the tools that you can't afford to have yourself, because there's no reason why somebody starting out should own their own laser cutter or 3D printer. Like, you need to go somewhere, utilize the tools, learn more skills, and make those connections. That's like the biggest thing. And if there is an event happening or you see somebody who's doing the thing you want to do, show up, meet them, talk to them, ask them questions, get involved. And by far the biggest thing, make the things that you want to make, because it is so much easier to show up and say, this is what I'm doing, not this is what I want to do.
Right.
Like, show that you are there and that you can better show the kind of artwork style that you're into or the ideas that you have, because if you can prove you already have that spark, then you've got like half of what you need already.
I love it. Love it, Mel.
Yeah. It's gonna be scary in the sense that like, okay, for me, like, so I was like growing up, I was not a talkative person. I did not like know how to make friends. It was very challenging. And I think that a portion of it is just like, at least for anyone who has struggled with something similar, like anxiety, social anxiety, or anxiety in general, like, be okay with just doing the thing you like it because you just like doing it. And like, baby steps are like the best way to go. Like, when I wanted to get into electronics and like robots stuff, I wanted to do that since I was a kid. And like, that's a big, broad project. And like learning how to do things like the concept of electricity, that's already a lot. There's like the people dedicate their whole life to doing deep research into that.
Facts,
just, I would recommend find a project that you're like, okay, like this is like my ambition project that I want to chase, and focus on learning just enough to do that, because it's so easy to just be like, and then if I just like learn like all of this, then I'll be prepared. You'll never be prepared. And be okay with kind of crude, rude, and like nothing that your brain imagines it to be. And I think that like a huge factor of like, we got, as you can see, there's like, when we dived into these projects, people got interested and then they just offered to help out.
Right.
Because like they saw the passion or they believed in it. And like, maybe the transaction wasn't necessarily monetary, but it was maybe a trade for trade. Like, we would help them out on their projects and things like that. Because it is kind of hard to do it in, I guess, this very, like, in our sort of society where it's like, one-to-one with something like money. But I will say that artists just want to make art. And we all just try to figure out how the heck to do it with like whatever budget we have or whatever sort of like resources we have. And the bigger you build your network, the easier it is to find somebody who'd be like, hey, yeah, like I do sewing for fun. And that sounds like a really fun project. And I want to contribute this. And like, we'll be like, oh, cool. Well, we can paint whatever you need for your fashion line or whatever the freak, you know?
Right.
And I think that it's like, it's always just scary starting. And I remember my first times going to some of these makerspaces and just being like, hi, my name is Mel. And like being awkward as heck.
Yeah.
And like, that's okay. Like you just continue to show up and you just try to showcase your passion and the things you like. And hopefully at one point people will be like, no, this person is, they're a little weird, but like they seem well-intentioned. And so like you continue to just like start to develop these sort of relations. And then like the byproduct of that overall, I think is like, it's like, I think community is generally good just for happiness. Like you get to go down a block and be like, hey, and like another person says, hey back. It's quite lovely. And you make a lot of art. So that's like at least I think my advice for this. Yeah.
I like to say, that needs to breathe for a little bit, because I cannot tell you how much you have just spoken directly to me, Mel and Kate. You all's advice, man. I'm inspired. Chat, are you inspired? Let them know if you're inspired. I just want to say thank you all, Mel. Thank you, Kate, for coming on here, inspiring us and building stuff with Nova. This is the place, again, we like to encourage people to just try things, to not worry about it. We want to create an inclusive space where, again, our uniqueness is what some may consider weird or different or whatever, all really just adds to this mastermind of ideas of greatness. And so as people are in the chat saying thank you, I want to say thank you verbally. And I look forward to chatting and maybe even seeing some of your work and riding that horse in real life one day.
Yeah. Cool. Yes, definitely.
Yes. Chat. Show them the love. The love is coming through. Really appreciate you all hanging out with us today on Building Stuff with Nova. Let me take a moment to share with you all what we have going on in the coming week. We're really just halfway through this week, but in the coming week, we in fact have a stream tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be with an escape room expert, Carmisha. Carmisha's going to be joining us tomorrow. And then on Friday, we're going to revisit our favorite industrial engineering game. We're going to give it one more shot to see if we could do something that we haven't quite done yet. And that is build our factory to protect ourselves on this new game world. So hang out with us again tomorrow at same time, same place, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, you all hang around because we're still going to also stream on YouTube. But in the meantime, we do this every day. So come over to Twitch and be a part of the building community. Until next time, you all take care. Thank you again, Meg and Kate. Thank you, chat. We love you all. Keep building. Peace.
Let's go.